We are now 6 weeks into the year, and all but a few games have been played for Week 6, and there were a lot of big things that took place on Sunday. The Steelers beat a 4-1 team by 31 points, the Vikings lost to a winless team by 3 scores in their own stadium, and the Eagles nearly completed the comeback against the Ravens. The Bears have started out 5-1 through 6 games, and that's something I don't think a lot of people, myself included, saw coming. Now, we're going to discuss the biggest Week 6 takeaways and the implications of them in today's video. And as always, the takeaways are in no order of importance, and we're discussing everything from Week 6. But before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And the first takeaway we will discuss is the Eagles are not going to compete with the current talent they have on the roster. Yes, Carson Wentz has been bad at times this year, as he has 6 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and has his team sitting through 6 games with a 1-4-1 record, but he is not the only problem. The offensive line that started Sunday was from left tackle to right tackle, and I'm probably going to mess some of these names up, but Jordan Mailata, Nate Herbig, Jason Kelsey, Jamon Brown, and Jack Driscoll. Whether it's Carson Wentz, Patrick Mahomes, or Russell Wilson behind those guys, that's not a good offensive line, and largely due to this, he can't be blamed for everything. The Eagles are a very injured team, and that has been the narrative of this team for the past 2 years. Wentz is throwing to players that aren't great, with players like Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, and Richard Rodgers. So whether you are a Carson Wentz hater or supporter, this can't go fully on him, as football is the ultimate team game, and believe it or not, quarterbacks do need competent weapons around them to succeed. The Eagles were down big on Sunday, as at a point were down by 3 scores, and to battle back against the Ravens with the roster they fielded Sunday is an accomplishment in itself. And while we're on this, Doug Peterson has a Super Bowl ring, and good for him for having one, but I don't think he's a great play caller by any means, and it showed at times on Sunday. And if you saw how the game ended, it ended with a failed 2-point conversion where a read option simply did not work, and I don't think that was a great play call in that situation. Doug is not a good play caller, and due to a lot of things he can't control, Carson Wentz isn't succeeding. He hasn't been great by any means, let me get that clear, but he is far from the problem. And the next takeaway is, we all know the Jets are bad, but they are historically bad. There is a legitimate chance they go 0-16, and they lost Sunday by 24 points in a shutout game. Joe Flacco had just 186 passing yards and averaged just 4.2 yards per attempt. I don't think Sam Darnold would have made a monumental difference, and that they would have won the game or even made it 24-20 or anything like that. This team is awful, and it would be interesting to see how they would fare against the 2016 Browns. Yes, the same team that went 0-16. They started Joe Flacco and Frank Gore in a game in 2020, and the receivers Flacco was throwing to on Sunday were Jamison Crowder, Brashad Perriman, and Braxton Berrios. I truly don't think this team will win a game the rest of the way, and what's crazy to me is how they let an NFL roster get this bad. I'm obviously not the only person that's been saying this, but Adam Gase should be fired, and he's been proven time and time again that he can't lead an NFL team. He is not a good NFL coach, and his lasting image as an NFL head coach could very well be an 0-16 or 0-whatever season until they decide to fire him. And as I record this, Gase has not been fired, but they very well could fire him between now and the time you watch this video. We know the Jets are bad, and anyone can watch them and tell you that, but they are historically bad, and I can't imagine there will be many teams in the 20s that will be worse than the 2020 New York Jets. And the next takeaway is Mike Zimmer needs to be fired. Now, I made a full 10-minute video on Saturday as to why he should be fired, and it is more evident now. This is funny, but I did say in the video the Vikings will beat the brakes off Atlanta, and as you guys saw, that very clearly did not happen. The Vikings got beat by 3 scores on Sunday by a winless Falcons team, and while the Falcons have great players like Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, they were still in fact winless. Between 2014 and 2019, the Vikings gave up 40 points just once, and Mike Zimmer was widely regarded as a great defensive guru, and understandably so. However, it is a much different story in 2020, and the Vikings have given up at least 40 points in 2 of the first 6 games, and although this would never be said publicly by players, I do think he has lost the locker room. Not only that, but what is a big cause for concern is Zimmer, whether you guys know this or not, doesn't ever take responsibility for his his actions or how bad his team is. Credit Kirk Cousins for as bad of a player as he is at times. Sunday was a perfect example of that. He will openly go into interviews and say, I have to be better, or I can't play this bad if this team wants to win, or things along those lines. Mike Zimmer, on the other hand, will formulate excuse after excuse and would absolutely never say, I didn't have my guys prepared well enough today, and I take responsibility as the head coach of the Vikings for this loss. His arrogance to me is hilarious because I truly think in his mind he's above everyone, and I know a lot of people don't like Vikings reporter Chris Thomason, and understandably so. I'm not getting into that, but Zim will genuinely talk to him like he's a dog at times in interviews when he's just trying to do his job. Zim's arrogance, his underperforming, and his excuses all need to leave Minnesota. The Vikings will enter a Week 7 bye at 1-5, and coming out of the bye, they play at Green Bay, a sure loss, home against Detroit, a toss-up at this point, and at Chicago, which again will be a sure loss. The Vikings almost never win in Soldier Field. At best, through 9 games, this team will be 2-7, and I really hope the Wilfs choose to part ways with Zimmer sooner rather than later. And next we discuss the Bucs and the Packers game. The Packers opened this game up with a 10-0 lead and ended the game on a 0-38 run. The Bucs are legit and they needed a big game like that after how they finished their Week 5 game in Chicago. While I don't think the Packers are frauds by any means, I do think the roll needs to be slowed when discussing them. Their 4 wins were against the trainwreck Vikings, the Lions, the Michael Thomas-less Saints, and the Falcons, and I do think every good team, or at least every team that will make a deep playoff run, should have started out 4-0 just like the Packers did. Obviously, teams can't control who they play or in the order they play them, but there was no reason they shouldn't have started out 4-0 based on how these teams are playing this year. The Saints are nowhere close to the team they used to be, and the Vikings, Lions, and Falcons have combined records of 4-13. Their next 2 games are at Houston and home against the Vikings, and those teams have combined records of 2-10, so the Packers will start out 6-1. They could very well rebound from this type of performance, but we saw this team feast on teams like the Giants, the football team, and other rookie and young quarterbacks in 2019, and while I don't want to overreact and say it's the same in 2020, it very well could be. Unfortunately for Packers fans and supporters, we won't know until they face another big-time NFC contender, which won't be for some time. This team will surely get into the playoffs as they have star players like Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and the Smith brothers, but how will they fare against the best of the best? We got a glimpse of it Sunday, and it was a 4-touchdown loss. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers heard the criticism all offseason of not being able to beat good teams and things of that nature in 2019 are more so the elite of elite, and he will want to change that. And I'm sure he will do everything in his power, but for now, the hype train on the Packers should come to a screeching halt. And the final takeaway, though not limited to, and we'll discuss a few more things at the end, so stick around, but the Steelers are legitimate AFC contenders. They absolutely mauled the Browns on Sunday with a score of 38-7, and if you watched the game, then you know how bad of a beatdown this was. Baker Mayfield looked a combination of scared and nervous at Heinz Field on Sunday, and that's never good for a starting NFL quarterback. The Steelers were feasting on the Browns, and the Browns are now 0-2 against the big boys, or in their case, their big brothers in the AFC North in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The Browns are a 4-2 team and have a negative point differential, as their 2 losses have been by a combined 63 points. Minkah Fitzpatrick has a pick 6, and hopefully for his sake this is something to build on, as he up to this point wasn't having a great second season in the Steel City. Chase Claypool is growing into his own more and more every week, and with how the Steelers draft receivers, they have to be pleased with that. I don't think it's a cause for concern as they are 5-0, but Juju Smith-Schuster in the past 2 games has 6 catches for 34 yards, and the reason I put this in today's video is he is in a contract year, and the Steelers generally don't pay receivers, and we have seen this with Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, and soon to be Juju. While Steelers fans should be thrilled to be 5-0, I do think they should be aware they are probably going to be losing a fan favorite this offseason, and like we always heard with Juju, about how he can't produce without AB and how AB's double coverage and everything opens up for him, I think we will hear about this with Chase Claypool within the next year. Anyways, the Steelers' defense truly looks like the old steel curtain on Sunday, and I feel like when you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, you can tell pretty quickly how pumped up or how into the game they are by their pass rush. They were clearly on their A-game Sunday and proved they are legitimate contenders. Now, as for the Browns, When they score in double digits, they're 4-0, but when they don't, they're defeated with 2 very large losses. There's no reason this team can't get to 9 to 10 wins and end up in the playoffs, but what will happen for them if they get there? Will they get beat by 25 or 30 points like we've seen them do against Pittsburgh and Baltimore, or will they be a formidable opponent and potentially win a playoff game? The Browns will have some time before then, but based on how well they've looked in 4 games against not Baltimore or Pittsburgh, they can get there. I really do want this team to succeed, but the questions surrounding Baker Mayfield right now are legitimate and they are very understandable. They're 4-2, so it's not the end of the world, but they will need to do some serious soul searching between now and their next game against Baltimore, which is a Monday night game that the nation will get to see. The last few takeaways from week 6 are the Bears are legit, and at 5-1 could cause some serious problems with that defense. The Bengals played good on Sunday, but with a young team, closing out games can be a problem. Derrick Henry is absolutely insane, and the Titans will be a very tough out in the playoffs. With the Titans, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Steelers, the AFC playoffs will be must-see during January. The Bucs look to be hitting their stride, and if there's one thing we all should have learned in the past few decades, it's to never bet against Tom Brady. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you ever have a video suggestion, please let me know in the comments. Please like the video, it helps a ton. I truly appreciate all the support, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Fire Zimmer.